And so I want to talk about this project that this result are part of the collaboration that started, I think, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago. And it was in a large part pushed by the strong leadership of Chris that has in his idea of span science and ideas that are developed here in the Jornada to the other rangeland in the world. And actually, Brandon did an extraordinary job in Argentina. So I will talk specifically about this Caldenal forest, and I will introduce you a little bit about what we call the Caldenal forest. Actually, it's a forest, that's a semi-arid forest, that is characterized by the dominance of a species that is called Caldenal, it's Prosopis caldenia. It's a Prosopis species that there are several Prosopis species in Argentina, but this one in particular is a dominant in a central area of Argentina. I will show you later some maps to see where we are. This is an endemic tree that could reach about up to 15 meters tall, and as many of, I think all of the species of Prosopis, the dispersion of seeds require scarification, acid scarification, and this is, I bring this point because I will take this later, as you can imagine. Well, just to have an idea, the forest is not only composed by the Prosopis caldenia, there are several other species. In particular, the grasses are an important part of the system, as well as shrub. But we divide the grasses in three groups. One that we call short grasses that are more desirable, are used by livestock. We have C4 grasses too, and these are bunch grass that we call mid grasses that become dominant when in areas that are heavily used by grazing. But I don't want to talk too much about the herbaceous layer. I will focus mostly in woody plants. So where we are, basically, this is in the left. This is a map of Argentina with the province, and in colors they are showing the ecoregion. And the Caldenal is actually more or less in the center part of Argentina, over here, and it's in a kind of a transition zone when there's a huge gradient in precip from east to west. In the eastern area of there's an ecoregion that's called Pampas, which is the area where the agricultural part of most of this grassland can be transformed into agriculture, in fact. And we go further to the west, the precipitation decline. We got this transition zone that we call Espinal, where the Caldenal forest is. And if we go further to the west, we get this area that is similar somehow to the Jornada with La Rea, and it's kind of over there is pretty low, like lower than 300 millimeters a year. So the Caldenal is in an area that we call the Caldenal region, that in fact we found different type of communities or ecosystem. We found there are grassland, savannas, forests, and even shrubland type of communities. So one of the intention with this project was to try to determine where we can find really the Caldenal. And so in order to be sure that we are not making confusion in terms of mixing so consider some areas that are, as Brandon said before, that the shrubland are the kind of the reference state, and we think that these are a degraded Caldenal area. So the main process that forming the changes in this density of type of community, density of the rock or woodland, is the increase in woody plant. So there is wood encroachment is the main process that forms the different patterns that we see in this area. And in particular, there is an increase in woody plant density within the area that we call the Caldenal forest. So in order to try to get an idea about where are the ecological site characteristics where we can find the Caldenal forest, so we did several studies that will show you one kind of example. So we see here different type of plants. So we have the prosopis tree, which in fact it represents the areas, this kind of representing where the Caldenal forests are. We have the Caldenal forest shrubs, so there are shrubs that occur in the Caldenal forest that could also occur as in shrubland type of community. And we got also the monte shrubs, which are characteristic, the characteristic species is area. In fact, it's not part, usually not part of the Caldenal forest. And so we see that the Caldenal forest is mostly found in kind of a deep soil with deep seek out or deep carbonate reaction. So this is more of the type of soil that will form the Caldenal forest. And so this helps us to identify which area could have a Caldenal forest as a reference. So once we get that information, so we try to understand what are the reasons of the different patterns that we see. So so there are too many differences in terms of how in terms of patterns. So we see kind of open areas and really close forests, and even we get this type of thing that are kind of shrubland within the alternative state of the Caldenal forest. So the first type of question that we try to answer is that which is the reference state for the forest, and we have the alternative state. And the next question was we proceed into the occurrence of the different alternative states. So we have, in the process to develop this conceptual model, we try to get an idea of what could be the reference state. And it looked like for most of the information we got, we are pretty much confident that the historical state was an open forest. And we have different alternative states that we characterize as a closed forest and a thicket shrub type of community, which is characterized by the dominance of a shrub, which are, in fact, most of them are shrubs from Prosopis caldenia, so it's not, and also Condalia microphylla, which is the other common shrub over there. So the Calden could get this type of morphology, the shift from the tree to the multi-stem shrub because of the disturbance effect. So what are the factors that could lead to the different type of patterns? So of course we have a kind of a legacy effect of human land use. So what we see right now is in large part what happened in the past. And when I talk in the past, I just there was this area was a lot used by Aboriginal population, and then when the European settlement came to these areas in the late 1800s, they did a lot of things like deforestation, clean the forest or open the forest for grassland, and even they do some kind of cultivation over here, so change, land use change. So so the first question is try to see what is the reason of this increase in woody population that changed the system from an open forest to a closed forest and even to a shrubland type of community. And so what we found is that there was kind of a social ecological threshold that occurred in around this 1950, in which this is okay. Okay. Now this is just not right. 1950, 1960 should be over here. So I'm sorry for this. This looks good. This is a problem with using Google tools. Okay. What we found here is basically a change in the grazing animals. So first of all, at the beginning, they were using in the late 1880s. They were sheep. The main grazing animal was sheep, and then they switched to cattle, and this occurred more or less in 1960. Like this, yeah, but it's earlier than that. Okay. It occurred around 1950, late 1950, and so what we see here is that there was the shift to a cattle, and the sheep started to be abandoned, so as a grazing animal. So one important thing is that the sheep do not eat seed pods, but they eat seedlings. Instead, cattle eat pods and separate seed from the endocarp and scarify the seed, and that increase the seed dispersion. So this type of thing is clearly shown in different types of study. I just showed you an example when we measure, so we try to reconstruct the forest population. So I mean the youngest individuals in the forest, and we see that there was a kind of pretty clear increase in the density of the forest population around the time when they shift from the sheep grazing to the cattle grazing. And we see that, or the particularity that in the forest is that here we got a dominant tree, and here we have a core of the tree that grow is dominated by, so I mean, they are dominated by this in the forest. So we get more or less a similar age, but the tree is so we get the small tree that could survive. So there was not really a shelf thinning that going in the forest. So this kind of a small tree could stay there for longer and maintain a very high tree population, tree density. So the other point that is important for the model is try to play with, so which are the cause of these changes in community structure. So we know that from going from here to there is probably the increase in livestock grazing and the increase in seed dispersion that have produced this increase in wood density. But what are the factors that are producing the change in the structure of the community? And so we know pretty much from different studies that there is the fire is a critical disturbance factor that can move this alternative state that is the closest forest to kind of a thicket shrub thicket type of state. What happened basically is that fire is going to act and destroy or kill the above-ground biomass of tree and shrub. But what happened is that the one characteristic of the Caldenal tree is to sprout, and when it sprout, it didn't get the tree morphology. Instead they get a kind of a shrub morphology, the multi-stem type of shrub. That is a pretty stable morphology, and so the shrubland is going to be more or less keeping this stage, and also it will be reinforced by fire in the sense that we are thinking that we can have a kind of positive feedback loop between this alternative state in which fire will come, will destroy the above-ground biomass, and the system going to come back as a shrub, and it's never going to go through a forest type of state. So basically, our model is we have 4 states in which we basically identify this open state as a reference state. This is the most degraded state, the rustic state, and we have 2 types of closed forests in which we have this type of forest of high density and almost no shrub that is developed under low fire regime, and instead when the fire regime started to be more, more fires, and so we can get this promotion of the shrub strata and kind of transition type of state in which tree and shrub are part of the system. And of course we get several connections, but basically what we have here is that in a system that is more kind of reference open system, if we put a livestock in there, so we're going to get just an increase in woody biomass, and everything else that we have to do with changing the structure is mostly driven by fire. So this is, of course, these are, we think in different kind of restoration type of possibilities, but all of them require kind of huge effort and a lot of investment of energy. This is an example where these are the initial conditions of the forest. This is a pilot study, and we get this type of more open kind of young forest. When we did is just eliminate a lot of individuals, but also there was a strong effort in trying to maintain only one dominant stem here and do pruning for keep this guy as a tree and not as a shrub. So okay, thank you for your patience. And